Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Bricks King podcast, where I'm going to bend your ear about Lego, review those amazing bricks of plastic, and discuss what is new and up and coming around the Lego world. I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it. Welcome in yet again, everybody. Hopefully you are doing well. Glad you're here. I'm ready to kick this stuff off. I've had this stuff ready to go for a little bit, and I just have not had a chance to be able to get to it. It has been a major busy week. Heading back to work, teachers are back to school, at least where I teach at, and it's the first week back without kids. It just sucks. It's this never-ending grind of passing down information and trainings, and it's just like, ugh. It's not the good energy. I want to be doing my thing, but I don't want to be doing that. So anyway, we do have 5 different sets we have to get to today. We're talking about the Arctic Explorer stuff and the ocean exploring stuff from the City line, courtesy of Lego sending that over to me to be able to talk about it with you guys and just kind of go from there with it. So I'm not going to waste any time. We'll go ahead and get into the first one here. So the first one, again, we'll start small. You know, you got to start small sometimes. And then I thought about going the opposite direction and starting really big and then bringing it down to this. But at that point in time, everybody's going to be like, I don't really care. Anyway, the Arctic Explorer Snowmobile, 70 pieces. It's only $11 only. 60376 if you are interested, if you are wanting to Google it that way. Anyway, this is where we get some seals. And I know everybody has been waiting for the seals. We get a baby seal, a little white baby seal. This is so cute. I really like the way these are done. And the mama seal, the daddy seal, whatever you want to call it. But you get a big gray seal as well. It does have an open stud on its back, so you can use that. Anyway, so it's got this little set piece, nothing really big or anything, but you can move your seal to different spots, or you can even take your snowmobile character, your minifig off, and have them stand up as well. Nothing real wild and crazy about it, but it is nice to get seals. It's nice to get new animals from time to time, and I'm a big fan of that. There's a little fish that comes with this as well. You get this big camera that you would see maybe somebody sitting out National Geographic style, like just a big, giant, bulky camera. Now you can set it on the ground because it has 4 feet on it, or technically I guess you could get your minifig to hold it. It's just super heavy in comparison to their body. The snowmobile is not too bad. The tracks on the front and the skis on the front, the tracks on the rear and the skis on the front, they just rotate around and stuff like that. A little Technic piece instead of using some actual track pieces, link pieces. You know, I'm okay with that. It gives it a nice little forward rake, and you've got your printed logo that is up here on the front with the world, and the I guess that's supposed to be the compass rose, is what I'm guessing there. Anyway, so your minifig that you got here with this, you have their snowmobile helmet, their snow machine helmet on here. It is a female character from what I believe, yes, and she's got a smiley winking face on one side and then a just chill face on the other side. I like the orange with the light azure blue as far as the her dress out here, her clothing, and then she has a backpack that goes on the back. It is I think this is it's not brand new. I'm pretty sure it's not brand new, but it's more of a modernized style backpack where you've got your little sleeping roller that is curled up or whatever else they may be using on it. It's a cool little set. I'm a fan of it. And of course, the seals, you've got to have seals. You just need seals. Seals. Alrighty, next on the docket, we have the Explorer diving boat. This goes really well with the big ship, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. So this is the next step up. It's a $40 set. Has 182 pieces. 60377 is the set number. This has a boat. It has a submersible, and we have a underwater little set build scene piece so that your divers can go into the water and, explore. We've got turtles, sharks. We've got a ray that is in here. So let's go ahead and talk about the boat first. So the boat is a solid piece. The entire floating piece of the boat, if you want to call it floating, these don't float. I don't think I've tried floating with these, but they are not going to float very well. Anyway, so you have that solid piece there. You have a little cockpit area where you can lift up the little canopy here, get your driver, pilot. I know boat pilots, it's a thing, right? But there's a steering wheel in here. There's some printed gauges that are in here as well. And there's also a crate that is down in there, which is kind of nice. The boat is kind of this open air kind of idea, which is kind of unique in the way that, I guess in the way they elected to do that. You have your communication, whatever you want to call it, little antenna piece that is sticking up off the top of the boat. You have your red and green lights denoting left and right side or port and starboard. You have two engines that are in the rear, and you can put them independently in the water, depending if you want to or not. You can put them straight down. You can put them up if you're docked. You want to just float and stuff like that. I like the maneuverability there for that. They're just clipped into place. Then we have this crane piece that is click crane, and it's got a chain on the end of it, and that is how you attach your tiny little submersible. Before we talk about the submersible, there is a spot for it that is in here that you can kind of tuck it tuck it away nice and easy. There is a syringe here, and there's also a printed tile here with the logo for emergency as well. So your submersible has two little arms that can come in and go out. Got some lights that are on it. The standard print here again with the for this theme right here on the head of this, on the top of it. And then you have your little propeller that is in the back, made of a Technic little gear piece here. It's a nice little guy. So you can hook him up with the chain at the top of this thing, and you just move him in and out of the water, try and put him back in a spot. The crane is not really good at getting that to be able to do that. So you just kind of have to, imagine it's being done, but you're going to have to do it with your hands. So let's talk about the other stuff that we get. Your little set build piece that you have is really quite cute. A lot of living life under the water, undersea life is here. We've got crab, we've got multicolored fish, you've got a bunch of coral pieces and stuff like that are sticking out, sea grasses and whatnot. And you've even got a sponge. There is a steering wheel that is down here, a wheel for a ship, and that can actually move if you want it to. You don't have to if you would choose not to. And then there is a treasure chest that is down here that has some treasure. There's a piece that is behind it, and then there's some little treasure tiles that are in there, and a little goblet that is in there as well. That is not the allure to this set. It is the sea turtles. So you have a big sea turtle, an adult sea turtle, and then you have a baby sea turtle. These are dual molded sea turtles, and they are adorable. I love the way they are done. Again, just like with the seals, the adult turtle has a open stud hole on the top, and it's just really nicely done. They're really cute. And I thought at first maybe they were going to go and make their front flippers soft, and they didn't. And I'm honestly still surprised about it. Even the little baby one, just thinking like how they could, be broken. Maybe not. I'm not going to put any kind of tension on it to figure it out. Your ray that you have, the fairly newer style ray. It is not brand new. I think we got it a season or two ago. But we do get a hammerhead here as well. His mouth does open. You can, click that open if you like. Just a little gray hammerhead. Pretty neat. So we have a number of minifigs. We only have 3. I shouldn't say a number, like there's a bajillion minifigs in this. So you have 2 different divers here. They're wearing the identical suit. Each of them are. And I forgot to mention in the last set, every single minifig in this wave, all 5 that we're going to talk about, every single one of them has a hairpiece if they have something else that goes on their head. So for instance, these 2 have their diver helmets on. They have there's a blue hairpiece and then there's a blonde hairpiece. So you could even intermix hairpieces if you would like, but it's nice that LEGO has finally gone full bore into it with pretty much every single set. If I'm not mistaken, it's been every set since they've finally listened to the crowd, to the audience, and, ran with it and said, you know what, let's do this for the people. So your divers, they have orange flippers, they have an orange tank, they have a dive helmet with a little snorkel piece that can go up and down. This female here has a sad face and, almost like she missed the opportunity to take the photo. Not sad as in she's hurt. It just kind of disappointed maybe would be better. And then she's happy on the other side. Their print, you can see some of their little gadgets and stuff that they have on them. Their meter for their air tank to show how much they have inside. So that's what she has. Your other one here, your other dude, he only has one face. He's just a smiley face. Same, decked out in the same way, except he has a blue camera that he is carrying. The last one that we have here is another female. She's got a really long hairpiece, and she's wearing a life jacket. Her stuff is white. She is not wearing a diving suit, and she's just hanging out on the boat. So I know some of you right now you already screamed when you heard the price. $40. Oh my God, $40. It's $40 because the entire boat is one solid piece. And then you talk about the shark and the ray, turtles, maybe, but that is mainly the reason. And then again, we're talking cities, so these pieces are for 5+, right? We're not talking something that's 18+ that may have you build the hull of the boat. That is not the case. So next up on the docket, we have the Arctic Explorer Truck and Mobile Lab. It's a $75 set. It has 489 pieces, and set number is 60378. This is a very fun set that has a callback to 2013 when they did Arctic. We've seen this snow machine type vehicle before a few years ago in a red color scheme, except that one, I don't have it out. I think that one, it's pretty much identical size. This one may be just a little bit smaller, but it's pretty much the identical size. So what we have with this is we have a few different things. We have another set piece that is here. This time we get some polar bears. You get 2 baby polar bears. Oh my God, they're so adorable. And then you get 2 fish. You get an adult polar bear, not polar bear. Anyway, so then you have this other little set piece. You can maybe imagine it's like a den or something like that where they're hanging out. It's almost like there's a little snowbank that was created here potentially for that. But there's also another reason for that. It is for your big rock. This rock that splits in half and you find a green gem inside. So if maybe you remove it and then the polar bears go in there and they make it their own little deal. Who knows? So let's move on to vehicles. We can talk about this big Explorer truck, if that's what you want to call it. In the front, it's got a big plow. This thing is on a click joint. It can go up and down. You can get a lot of movement on this thing because it goes a full 90 degrees down from the straight out point. So that is interesting. Obviously, you're not going to be able to roll this thing and do it that way. But the edges of the plow, the ends of it, that's on a click joint as well. It can be maneuvered, whatever you want to prefer to say. So this is a tracked vehicle. It's got big old tracks and everything. It does have the cheater wheel in the center. If you're not familiar with what a cheater wheel is a rubber wheel. In this case, it's rubber that actually drives the vehicle so that if you are on slippery surface, like maybe something like concrete, like a polished concrete like we have in our house, or tile or hardwood, this makes it much easier to be able to get traction. And then it also kind of gives that rock back and forth a little bit as well. So the vehicle is mainly just treads, big old tank tracks. That's pretty much all it is for the most part. That's your main build of this thing in the belly of it. It does have a little crane that is on the back that can swivel around 360 degrees. It has a click joint on in the center of it, at the bottom of it, and at the end where it does have a hook that is ball jointed in. So your hook can be used to lift that rock, that special geo rock, whatever you want to call it. It can move that out of there. On the back, we also do have a container that has some tools in it because, you're out there, you're going to need shovels and picks and saws and all that kind of good stuff. So lastly, the cabin on this thing, it's only got room for one minifig in there. The cabin is actually pretty nicely done in the way that they chose to use a rear windshield. You would usually think of it as like a straight up rear windshield on like a tractor or something like that. They did that in the front to give it that flat face. So that's kind of nice. You got beacon lights that are on here. You have the printed top roof of this thing with that standard logo for this wave. On the rear of this, you do have a ball joint. And the reason that is, or a receptacle for a ball joint, is because there is a connection piece that goes to the mobile trailer. Now, the nice thing is you unhook it and it unhooks really easy. It's got a really long attachment joint here, but it's just this little platform. So you can keep the platform attached to your lab or you cannot. If maybe you're afraid of danger from other creatures or whatever, you don't have to. You don't want them walking up to your lab door or anything like that. You can take it off. It is clipped into place on the actual trailer, the mobile sleigh trailer. It's more of like a sleigh than a trailer, in my opinion. But you could take it off if you want, but it is essentially the walkway to get into this mobile lab. It is on ski skids, so you do have that. But on the roof of this thing, you have some solar panels, you have some lights, you have some other beacons and such. It's got some snow melt that is up there. It's also got a wind turbine, I'm assuming to collect energy, because it's not like you can just go to the gas station while you're out exploring. Anyway, the entire roof does come off so that you get access into the lab. So you can put your minifigs through the door if you like. There's a sticker for the door that opens. Got a lot of nice glass pieces on the side so that, you can look out and stuff. It is kind of cramped on the inside. It's a sleep station. It's a workstation. It's everything. And there's a lot that goes on in here. So one spot, you have another little canister container here. It's got a radio in it, and it's got that tile there, the 1x2 printed tile for the medical services. There are 2 beds that are in here, like I had mentioned. You have a computer that is popped up over here that has a sticker of a polar bear that looks like he's found the camera, wherever the camera is, and got his paw up at it, almost like he's waving at it. We've got another little block here, a little slope here that is used for, it's all your controls and everything like that for whatever you're doing on the inside of here. And then the last thing that we have is we have our little energy control panel, central, whatever you would like to call it. We have some octane symbols here, but it is for batteries. It has a plus and a minus on it, just like if you would think of like a AA battery or AAA battery. That's what it is supposed to be, essentially. So that's your power station, your charging station, or whatever. So there is room on the inside. You can put that geode, that crystal, whatever you want to call it. There is room that you can stick it in here and analyze it, weigh it, shoot lasers at it, whatever. So then we have minifigs. That's all we've got left. We only have a few minifigs. I say only a few, but we have a few. We have a female photographer here, and she's got a dual molded hat and hair piece where her hair comes and falls in front of her shoulders. She's got skis on. They have gray skis on, these 2 characters. She's got a big camera that has a giant telephoto lens on it, which is actually kind of neat. And we move on to our other explorer dude, and he has got on his flippers, his snowshoes, not his skis, not his flippers, but he has a saw that he is carrying around. He is wearing the same colors as his partner here, with the orange and just a tiny little bit of blue that is on it. He's got his little winter hat on, which is important, and he's just a smiley, bearded, happy dude. Then we get to our 2 people that are inside of the trailer, or at least can be working inside the trailer. The others can too. So you have your female here with her giant poofy hair, and she's wearing glasses. She's curious in one face and happy on the other. She's got a magnifying glass here. She is all of that light azure blue color here. It's beautiful in the way that that is done. And we have our other dude here. He's got a really crazy, thick, kind of, it almost feels like an Icelandic beard. And then he's got the little fuzzy stuff around his neck, like his scarf, like you would think the fur on like a cold weather jacket. He's got that as well. And then his spiky hairpiece. He only does have the one face, though, because of the hairpiece that he has. So it's a really neat set. I'm a big fan of this one. I'm a big fan of anything Lego, let's be honest. But the one thing that did bother me is while the station here, the secondary area, is nice and well and good, the little mobile lab, it doesn't feel so much like a lab. It feels more like this is your bed. Not a big fan of that. They can be taken out. It's not difficult to take them out. Like if you wanted to make more room. When I hear mobile lab, I'm thinking just lab. I don't want to think of sleeping quarters. I wish they would have done something else versus throwing the beds down in there, because they just take up so much room. And honestly, it's too tiny as it is. And then you have no room to pose guys or kids to really play. You're better off just taking them out and, leaving the pieces elsewhere, not using them at all. The vehicle is really nice. I do like that. But again, it's a rendition that we've had in the past. It's nothing new and over the top, which, I mean, these are the vehicles that they use there, when they are out exploring in the Arctic and stuff like that. So I get it, whether it be in, the northern part of the world or the southern part of the world, this is what they are using. So I can't really complain about it, just because the sheer fact it is accurate and that's what they are using. So before I move on to the next two, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in a moment. Well, let's go ahead and continue on. The next one we have is the Deep Sea Explorer Submarine. This is probably my favorite. $110, 842 pieces, 60379 is the set number if you are looking for it. This has all the goodies. You want the great white shark? It's got the great white shark, which we've seen a great white shark in the past. That's not anything new. We've seen this before. However, the set build on this thing is exquisitely done. It's got action to it. It's got a number of different elements to it. The build is unique in its color scheme. I'm really just a big fan of how it turned out in general, to be honest. So what has it got? Well, you've got a wrecked ship. You have part of a hull of a ship here, and you can see the ribbing of it, an old wooden ship. So down in the belly of the beast is literally the beast, and there's a shark, and he's on a little slider mechanism here that Lego likes to build, and you just shove him from the rear, and he just pops out and stops at a certain spot. If you don't want him in there, you want to use him, manipulate him around, all you got to do is lift him off, and he's done. So next to him, when he's sticking out, we've got some seagrass that is sticking down to kind of camouflage him a little bit. So going around either left or right side of this, it doesn't really matter. You do have some glow-in-the-dark fish. I almost said shrimp. I don't know anything about glow-in-the-dark shrimp. I don't know what I was thinking. Anyway, so you have some glow-in-the-dark fish here, 2 on this side, a few on the other. And but you have these really cool brick-built jellyfish, which are really sharp looking. They use a lot of the plant pieces, but upside down. And they use a little clear caps on the top. Really, really cute looking. Big fan of the color palette with the way those were done. You have a bunch of other little sea life and stuff, little plants and stuff that are sticking out, coral stems and such, sticking out all over the place. If you turn it to the rear, where the shark is clearly guarding or doing something. So in the rear, we do have a little red gem that is back here with some gold ingot pieces. And then we have a skeleton who is obviously dead, who is missing a leg and has a sword in the hand and another yellow crystal gem type piece. So he didn't make it out. He got his leg ripped off and died there, I guess. It then didn't get eaten. I thought sharks ate the whole body. Anyway, so on the top of this thing, you have I guess it's not really supposed to be like the bridge of the ship, but it's up above where the great white is. There is a chest here. The chest in here has some gold ingots, like we've seen so many, many, many times. But there's also where it's almost kind of like a little crow's nest type bucket piece here. And then we have some trans poles that are sticking out the side, and that is how you attach your other 2 sharks. They are smaller than the great white. I'm not sure what kind of sharks they are, but you just spin it around and it looks like they're circling, which is kind of neat. You know, they're circling around the chest so that you might not be able to get to it. It just adds a different dimension of fun to it, little playability, which is super important in kids in general. So I'm a big fan of the way that turned out. Moving on to our Explorer people, we have a suit. We have a little mechanized suit that you can wear down under the water. Nope, I am good. I am not getting in something like that. Sorry, especially not in shark-infested waters. So you got big old bulky legs, big old bulky shoulders, if you will, that don't move. And then you have some arms on it. You got some wrenches on it, on those arms. Or in those hands, if you will, which are just clips. But yeah. So your pilot, your person that is driving this thing, this is just a very reduced mech, if you think of it like that. Here's where I'm really not happy. Your minifig. You put your minifig in here and you're ready to go, right? I don't like how the back of this thing is a click joint. I wanted it to be solid, and it's not solid. And here's what happens. When you go to move that, where are you holding? You're like holding in the legs. You're trying to hold in the middle or something like that as this thing starts clicking or whatever. And the legs come off. Like the entire bottom assembly piece just pops off in the way that they are attached. I was not a big fan of that. It did bother me. But anyway, I guess you can only complain so much about anything, but I'm not trying to be complain. It is my one little critique. I'm just not a big fan of the way that was done. All right, on to the thing I know that everybody cares about the most, and that's the big submersible that we have going on here. And she is very, 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 very big. Probably the largest submersible submarine, whatever you want to call it, that I think I've ever seen Lego do. A few years ago, the one that they did was not near this size. This is the bulk of your build, and there's a lot of bulk to this build. So let's go ahead and discuss it a little bit. On the front of this thing, you have a giant glass bubble, which is really, really well done in the way that they just kind of, usually, you know, you worry about things looking open or stuck open, like water's going to get in there. They really did a good job here of accomplishing making it look really, really real, because there's nowhere for water to visually get in. Because like I said, sometimes you have that open airspace and it just doesn't come across real well. The arms that are on the side of that have these big old pincer claws that are up here. They're on rubber bands to be able to grab stuff. They are ball jointed into the main body of the vehicle, and then they have click joints that can be put into position elsewhere up towards the little claws. But if you kind of rotate this thing around, you see what look like giant buoys, essentially, that are on the side. These big, giant orange chunks of plastic. They are very, very built up. They are major steps when building this thing. And that is obviously to get your curvature. It's to make it look like the real thing, but it's two-parted here. And the reason for this, I know what they chose to do here was to be able to grab it, because you can't really grab it on the underside. You've got some rigid type aerial style pieces here. You can't really use those. So this is where you are grabbing this thing and moving it around and swishing and swooshing it and just having a blast with it. So I'm really appreciative of that, because I can do that. A little kid can do that. It just turned out really well in the way that was done. Plus you get the logo on each side of it, which who doesn't want the logo? I mean, it's so cool looking. So down on the inside here, the cool thing about this is you can actually take and store you could probably even store your last minifig in there, but all of your minifigs can actually go in here. You can put their extra hair pieces in here, and that way you know where everything is. Like, you're done playing with it, mom says, oh, pick up your toys. All right, let me put all my minifigs in here, close it up, and it's done. So I pulled the little bubble down in the front, and we just have this little piece here. It's kind of like a yoke for a plane, and that's essentially what you are using to drive this thing. Just to the rear of that is your little seat for your little guy, obviously. But there's two seats. One is facing to the left, one is facing to the right. They're different colored as well. Anyway, so down on the inside of that area, you have a whole bunch of different things. You've got some jars that, are from samples that maybe came up from down below, something that, maybe there was some drilling into the ground or whatever. But there's a lot of clips in here to hold different things. You got some shears, you got a crowbar, you got a wrench, you got some other little tools and such that are important for when you're doing this kind of stuff. There's also some little prints and some stickers here that are showing, different things that, you're doing as far as underwater exploration goes. One of them on this big tile actually is a piece of one of the big coral pieces. And, it's showing it as if you're looking at the bacteria or whatever. So you can take a little sample, put it in there, analyze it, and do what you need to do. So the second compartment, because you can take the top off of the first one, and it's a big bulky piece. You got some hatches that are up here, and then some big old lights to shine because you're down in the ocean. You need to be able to see when you go way down there. Anyway, so this compartment opens. It does not come off. It just opens. It's a big glass piece, Technic glass piece. It opens. And this is where you put your little ROV. And, if you don't want to go out there until you explore a little bit around remotely, go for it. And that's what this thing is essentially for. It's just like the one that we talked about already. It's just bigger and actually does have a real propeller on the back. It does have a little hook loop so that it can be, pulled out and such. So, it's a thing you need to do, right? You need to be able to maneuver this puppy. Alrighty. So next up, and I know some of you are going to get really mad here. The very rear of this thing, it does not come off. It is not intended to come off. You could take it off, but you're going to have to redo the build. But underneath where it slims down in the back, you do have two little compartments that have doors that you can open and put different stuff in there. Anything that your explorers might be using, which we'll talk about when we get to the minifigs here in a moment. But you can do that. You have 3 thrusters that are here. You have a big central one in the middle that uses a giant rim of a wheel. And then you have 2 that are on the side. The one in the center, you can spin the prop, but you cannot, maneuver this thing around. The ones on the side, you can tilt for upward, downward. It would have been nice if you could have got side to side movement just a little bit, but that's fine. It's not a big deal. Kind of on the bottom of this thing, this is where you have a hook, and it's on a click joint. If you're not using it, you stow it. Think of it like a hook for a carrier, for aircraft that is coming onto a carrier. An aircraft carrier, this is what they would use. Put their hook down, catch the wire so they don't fly off the ship when they're coming in as fast as they are. Anyway, so use that hook. You can maneuver your stuff about however you need to. You can actually pick up your suit, your little diver suit, and tow that around with you because the way that it is built. Or you could, pop the hatch and let your ROV out. And you could even put that on the hook. It is completely up to you. Play as you want. It's just a lot of options, a lot of fun here. In my opinion, I think it's just really nice. So let's talk about our minifigs because we do get quite a number of them with this set. So the first one we have here is your health and well person or biologist or marine biologist or whatever they are. And this dude here, he's got a really nice little beard going on there too. Anyway, he's got a stethoscope print around him. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was in the medical stuff earlier in the year. I'd have to go back and double check. Anyway, so he's got kind of this Scrubs idea going on for the most part. Then we've got some other peeps that are hanging out down here. We get a female that we talked about before that had the really long hair and the little vest. Get one here. She could be your pilot or your driver of this thing or not. It's completely up to you, man. So your divers, we get 3 divers. 2 of them we've kind of already seen before. We got a guy with some glasses here. Same exact minifig uniform, everything like that. So this guy has a light. He's got a little metal detector. Then we have another dude over here that has another light. Because again, you're looking around under there. You're trying to see all this stuff. Then we move on to the last one here. And what this dude, well, I guess we do have one more because she's in the suit. This guy's got the probably one of my favorite things. He has a blue camera but they have that, I call it a frog hat because it reminds me of the eyes of a frog, right? So it's got the big lights this is meant for very, very far down depths. So that's nice. It's dual moded. It's in that light azure blue. Really, really, really nice. But he's just chilling down there. He's a happy little dude taking some pictures. I didn't know you could take underwater cameras down that far. Maybe just in my head. maybe that's not even a real thing. Anyway, so the last minifig that we do have is, if I could pop her out here. So she does not have a helmet. She does have a little side hairpiece that is going on here, and she's just happy. She's just smiling. And then she's got her kind of standard garb dress as well, with the darker blue pants like everybody has, except she's got a little like what looks to be like a little radio over her shoulder. I'm a big fan of this set. I told you this is the next one we talk about is obviously the biggest one. It doesn't mean it's the best. I like the playability function here with so much stuff. Plus, like I said, you can store everything in here. If you wanted to take this thing in the bathtub or in the pool, you absolutely could. It's not going to float, obviously, and it's not meant to float, but you could absolutely have a blast with this kind of stuff. And I think kids are going to love this thing. I had a blast building it. There's more to the build than what you actually realize. It's just an all around fun deal. So, I'm a big fan of this set, and, price, I know, you would think, $100, you want a little bit more, but I mean, you get a really neat underwater piece. There's a lot more here than what you probably realize. Alrighty. Well, you've waited. And now we get to the big behemoth that is the Arctic Explorer ship. These things are so cool. These big ships are fantastic. And I think the last one was done in 2021, maybe 2019. I can't remember. However, color scheme is really good on this. I love this ship. It is so pretty. So here's what we have that comes with it. Killer whale. Yes, the killer whale, the killer whale. Everybody wanted the killer whale. People are going gaga for this thing. And now you have an opportunity to get a killer whale. But this thing is $160, 815 pieces. You're like, whoa, what? Yeah, I know. But again, big chunky plastic costs money. 60368 is the set number. First thing that we have here, we have a little underwater set piece that you have here. It's just meant to be some broken up wood, from some ship, the hull of some ship. Looks like the head of a ship right here. And so you have some stuff that is settled down on the bottom. You've got a chest that is down here. There is not really any treasure. There's some weapons. There's a shield. There's an axe. And then there's a helmet from, somebody that lost it when the ship went down. And it's hanging out on top of a crab. A crab is toting this thing around. He's like, you know what? I'm protected. I have my iron helmet on, to protect me from anybody coming from above. They're not going to grab this thing. It's just kind of cute. Then we have a little boat. We got a little dinghy that you can use here and take to point A, point B, or whatever. And, you just do what you do with it, right? You just go, you're on the ocean, you're going around. So you do have that. It does have 2 clips on it. This is just a tiny solid piece pretty much. It does have 2 clips on it because, again, you do need to have places for things. In this case, my 2 guys that are going out, I have his camera sitting in the clip so that he can actually fit without all this other whole chaos stuff. But there are 2 seats available, so that's good. We also get a helicopter. Helicopter. Yes, these tiny helicopters. But you know what? They've gotten better over the years. 2018, 2019, we started the podcast. There were some helicopters. They were just really, really bad. They were so tiny. This one is not as bad because it has buoys that is on the side of it. So it could be worse. But again, not really a whole lot here. You have your rear propeller. You have your one above. The one above is kind of a pain in the butt because depending on how you move this thing about or sit it, you knock it really easy. And they're just really long, 1x8 tiles, and they just pop off really easy. Kind of a pain in the butt a little bit. Anyway, so your pilot, she's got her little pilot helmet on, and she comes with a wrench because everybody needs to have a wrench for some reason. This is one of those kind of like a semi-open cockpit, like I talked about where we just talked about on the sub. you see a bunch of air on the side of this thing. You don't see air, but there's a lot of open air along the side of this thing. One day we will get there and not have this issue. Anyway, so then you have your killer whale as well, which is everybody's favorite. You just heard that click. That is the mouth opening and closing. It does lock open and it does lock closed. When it comes closed, it looks like it's smiling with its teeth interlocked the way it is. It's so cute. Or then when the mouth is open, it kind of looks like he's impressed. So it's really neat. No soft rubbery pieces on this at all. Again, I'm really surprised on the flippers on the side. Kind of a shock, but you also have that iconic fin on their back, the way that it was done, sticking up out of the water. Now, here's the other thing, and I don't know, I haven't seen anybody else review this kind of stuff or talk about it yet. The cool thing about his upper fin, the one that sticks up out of the water, that iconic look for a killer whale when they're going through the water, just like a great white shark, right? This is the way it's molded. It's essentially a bar on the back end of the fin. So you could technically, go dolphin style and put your minifig's hand on there and swim along with this guy if you really wanted to. So it sucks that you have to get this guy in such an expensive set, but alas, we are here with the expensive stuff. All right, let's get to the ship. The ship has a bunch of stuff going on to it. It also has a lot of what felt like empty deck space, if you would. So what do we have in the front of this thing? By the way, this is two separate ship pieces that are attached. You have the one that's rounded, the hull that's rounded, and then you have the one that's more pointy. So in the front of this thing, you have a helicopter landing pad that can come off. We'll talk about that here in a minute, but that can come off. It gives you access to the interior. Then you have your bridge and stuff like that where you're everybody's hanging out or living or driving the boat, whatever. Do you drive a boat? You don't row it. I guess you would drive it. Drive it doesn't seem right. Anyway, and you've got your antennas and stuff like that. Your little globes here that are checking for weather and all kinds of other stuff, sensors and all that craziness. Got some exhaust ports. Then you dip down into the belly of this thing just behind all the crew compartments and stuff, but we're still on the exterior of the ship. There's a ladder that gets you from the rear doors of the cabin, the bridge, down to this little section. And this is where your crane build comes into play. You build the crane right in here. This thing can rotate around the whole way around, actually, which is really nice. It is a string that is used here with a hook on the end. And then, you've got your gears to be able to gear pieces that are used on the side to be able to grab this and just maneuver your string about. So there's nothing else there. It's kind of like, okay, it's almost kind of a waste of space in that area. I'm not really sure what else you could do with it. You could absolutely do something else with it. You could put supplies, you could do other little brick built things and throw them in there. It would be absolutely phenomenal. So to the rear of that, we get a little bit further in the ship, to the rear of the ship. And then you have these doors that open. And there's a bunch of these tiles. They're 1x4 tiles, and they are the light colored blue here, and they have the black striping, and they have them on the crane. They have them right here, and there's somewhere else. I know there was one other place. Anyway, so you can open these doors, and this gives you access to the water, directly down into the water. So you can take your boat, which you wouldn't want to put your boat down there. And let me rephrase that. You don't want to do that with your boat. That would be really, really bad, and definitely not a good thing. I did forget to mention one thing about the crane. It is a telescopic crane, meaning it can, the interior of it can pull out so that you can reach the boat and the submersible. We'll talk about that section here in a second. But where I was referring to, you can drop your submersible in there. It's direct water in there. You imagine you got water hanging out down there. If you wanted to, I'm sure, there's probably a way you could give yourself a little bit more deck space. Unfortunately, this is the way it is. How they did it is because this is where the two boat sections come together, and the way that they're attached across from one another. That's why they left this open water area. So moving to the rear end of the boat here, This is where you've kind of got your storage of everything. You've got a spot here that has your submersible that is down in the belly down here. And this submersible looks just like the others, just a little bit differently configured. Arms, prop on the back, lights, and then a spot to be able to pick it up from. So you put him in there. He actually does have a little stud that it can sit on. And then your boat, your little dinghy that we talked about in the beginning, can actually sit right there above it. So, you can move the boat and then you can move that, or, your boat's out. Now you get this guy out. But you can drop your submersible straight into the water through those open hatches if you would like. I'm sure you could come up with other things that you would want to do with it. Originally I thought, okay, that's going to be a helicopter landing pad. And then they did it in the front and I was like, okay, I actually like that better. So at the very end, the very rear of this thing, not the very end of it, but the very, very rear of it, you do have another spot where you could put equipment or anything like that. You've got these little hooks that are kind of sticking out on the side of this build. It doesn't really seem to have much of a purpose, but do with it as you will. What I have done with it just to mess about was pull the chest up from the build on the bottom on that little set piece that we talked about. And you just sit it right there. You could sit it right there. It's going to slide around, but you could just sit it right there, just be like, oh, we found it. Let's stick it up here and crack it open and see if there's any gold in it. Something like that. So let's move back to the front of the boat because that's where all the stuff is happening. So I told you can take off the helicopter landing pad. That gives you access. We'll talk about that here in a second. But we're going to pull off the very top. Let's see how gingerly I can do this without breaking anything. So you pull the very top off and you have these windshield pieces. Some of them are upside down and then some of them are right side up to be able to give you that different look. So here on the bridge, you've got a few different things. All of our minifigs, we've talked about every single one of these minifigs. We're not going to talk about it again. They are literally the same minifigs we have seen in every single set other than the pilot. So what you have here, you have a compass, you have a steering wheel, you've got a whole bunch of different gauges and stuff like that on these slope tiles to be able to tell you where you are, navigating, all that kind of stuff. There's 3 different chairs in here for you to do your stuff and be able to make sure that the ship is doing what it should as well. As I'd mentioned, there are doors. It's a set of double doors that can open to the rear so that you can go outside into the crane bay. So you take that whole floor off and now you are literally down in the belly of the beast here. So where you take off the helicopter landing pad, down in there you have 2 bunks that are in here for your people to sleep on, which is a nice use of space right up here in the front of the ship. Really brilliant idea in how they accomplish that. Not anything wild and crazy, just it's really nice how they went about it. There's also a toilet that is down here. It's very much like a toilet closet. I'm like, hey, you gotta go. And, most times we don't see toilets, on vehicles, ships and stuff like that. So, the people got to do their business. Then we have this kind of little research area, if you will. We've got this little kind of what is a brick, but I guess it's kind of like a table, but you've got a sticker here that's showing the Earth and where they're at and what they may be doing and stuff. You got a little research station here with some vials, and then you have the 1x1 round tile that has the what looks like an amoeba that is on it. You got your little microscope build here. You even have a little tank in here that has a water. It has a water. The tank has a water. It's been a long episode. Anyway, it has a crab in the tank, the aquarium, and some other little plant life that's in there. And then on the opposing side, I got to turn this thing around. This thing is so big. You have your coffee maker with a little mug there. And then you have a computer station that you've got a keyboard. And then you have these 2 little round tiles that have the little bar sticking out of it. Next to that, those are your controls to drive the submersible. That is the driving station for the submersible. So that is really nice to have. And it gives you a screen of what your submersible is looking at. In this case, when it gets down there and it sees the treasure chest, which I guess you could call it treasure artifacts, might be better phrase terminology there for it. But yeah, anyway, I love this ship. I love everything that it has. I really enjoyed building up the the cabin area where they're at, the little research center down in there, the bridge, there's a lot that goes on with the bridge. I know you have these big chunky glass pieces, but there's a lot that goes on in it to be able to enjoy it the way it should be. And it's a kind of a neat technique in the way that they did the glass upside down so that they are locked into position. Because normally you would think of it and be like, well, how's that even going to work? Well, it works, and it works really, really well. But it's nice. You can pull these things off. You can play with it. It floats. I mean, for the love of God, it floats. Kids want something that floats. It floats. So being able to have something, like I said, that does float, that does play well, that I just realized I did not mean to go there. Lego means play well. So anyway, it's a really cool build. I think it's a fun little thing to mess with, and everybody wants a killer whale. So I'm sure people are going to be selling killer whales on Bricklink for like $90. I would not be shocked. I think the great whites, when they came out the first time, were being sold for like $40, $50, something like that. It was just absurd. But hey, where there's a desire to have something, there's somebody willing to capitalize on it, So $160. I think is probably okay based on what you're getting as far as the boat, kind of like the ability to have it float. I don't think it's worth $160. If you're looking at the numbers and everything, yes, it's there. But like I said, you've got that open water space. You could mod this thing and add some things to it without a doubt. There's deck space to be had and messed with. So, have some fun with it, do your thing and enjoy, really. So you have to let me know what you think of the this part of City. We've got more coming up. I've got a something Mario that is sitting right next to me, staring me in the face, which will be coming next. So before we go, I've got one thing to share with you because I've been badgered about it. I was badgered about it in Chicago in a good way, not in a bad way. And I know a bunch of you have emailed and messaged me over the last few years and said, hey, is there any way we could get a shirt? Is there any way we can get a hoodie? Yes, now you can. I have finally caved, and now you can get yourself tumblers. You can get yourself shirts, hoodies, men's shirts, women's shirts. Doesn't really matter. So down in the description, the link is there. If you're interested, go ahead, click it. See if something tickles your fancy. If not, hey, whatever. I'm a big t-shirt person. I have so many t-shirts from creators, from just random stuff. I have so many Ninjago t-shirts. And, I never can get enough. That is my main wear. So anyway, it's there for you guys. And we will be doing some more stuff, some alternate designs that we're working on right now. And that will be coming in the future. Hopefully some other t-shirts as well. It may interest you or it may not. So anyway, the option is there. Follow it. You can also find it on social media. I'll be putting it out there as well. So until we meet again, I'm your Minifig Ghost, Matt. Let's belt on it.